Here's a video I put together showing off a bike route that my friend Tim and I rode in March of 2020. We made a loop starting in Ellensburg, Washington, taking the Palouse to Cascades gravel trail down to the Columbia and then back on the old Vantage highway. In total, we had about 31 miles of gravel and 35 miles of pavement. The gravel trail condition was pretty decent heading east from Ellensburg and was pretty flat for the first 5 miles. Our first obstacle came at about 12 miles into the ride, where the rail line crosses above Interstate 90. I inspected the bridge and immediately realized that it would be impossible to cross over it, so we decided to go under it. In hindsight, this was not nearly as good as taking the trail a little farther east and then getting on the road that crosses under the highway, as our route required us to cross 2 fences, a canal, and a steep embankment. After getting back on the trail, the next section was really loose. Basically the next 4 miles of the trail were probably the worst of it in terms of trail condition. Slowed our average speed down quite a bit. Definitely need to have probably at least a 40 millimeter tire width to make it enjoyable. The other unknown on this route that I had was I knew there was going to be a tunnel on it, but I didn't know what the condition of the tunnel was going to be. It turned out that the tunnel was actually fine, but we had quite the obstacle in front of it. There was basically a mountain of tumbleweeds that had all blown in and become piled up. At the time, we didn't even consider going back and taking a route around, avoiding this obstacle. We figured, how bad could tumbleweeds really be to get through? Shouldn't be that difficult. What we didn't see at first was that the more we progressed through the tumbleweed pile, the deeper it got. Unfortunately, we found that once we got through the pile of tumbleweeds, we weren't done yet. There were some more in the tunnel. Luckily, they weren't as deep or as long. After finally removing the remaining tumbleweed pieces stuck in our gears, we put on our headlights and away we went through the tunnel. The tunnel floor condition was actually pretty decent. I don't recall there being too many obstacles. Upon exiting the tunnel, we found that the trail was actually pretty overgrown, but luckily it cleared up after a few hundred feet. This next part of the trail was my most favorite, the downhill. We had about a negative 2% grade for the next 14 miles. There were quite a few of these cutouts in the hills, and every one of them had quite a few rocks on the trail through them, so you had to be a little bit careful. We refueled at the gas station in Vantage and then started our ascent into a strong headwind on the old Vantage highway. The rest of this ride proved to be pretty difficult, as even though we were heading downhill towards Ellensburg now, the wind was really strong. Because of how difficult this next section ended up being, we decided if we were to do this ride again, we would probably want to start in Vantage early in the morning when there's a little less wind. Thanks for watching.